Hello everyone, you're watching an episode of Fallon's Daily Toast. I'm at No Gallery at 228 Newbury. It's a hot Monday, and in the hot seat, or really the cool seat because it's so nice in here, thanks Landon Richmond, No Gallery. Thank you so much. This is really such a treat. I'm a big fan of yours.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for doing this interview with me.
Yeah, of course.
It's a blur of memories. It's not like, one shocking scene that you'd see in some film where it's dramatically raining and music is playing, but it was a bunch of moments that kind of blurred into one experience. I was Jewish. I was raised Jewish, and I went to a preschool that was, part synagogue, and they would have Mud Day, and Mud Day was exactly what it sounds like. They'd get a big pit of mud, and you'd get to play around in it. And there was this kid there, and I don't know why I remember his name, other than the fact that it was Peter Parker. I remember him looking like an angry kid. One day in the playground, he threw like a block or a brick or something at my forehead, and I remember it hit me right here. I still have like a scar from it, and like I fell to the ground like bleeding, and I remember just like everyone like left, no one really helped, and I just sat there bleeding until the teacher found me. And I mean, when you're a kid, that's a really intense experience. You're forming your opinion on people and reality. And going through that, it made me feel more like an observer than a participant. And in a lot of ways, I appreciate that that happened because of that. My lucid dreams are actually really boring. I get really when I realize it's a dream, I either get disinterested or I do everything I can to destroy the dream universe so I wake up. I'd rather just be awake. I actually had this discussion the other night, what makes someone a true artist, and I think one of the largest things is an uncontrollable need to create. It has nothing to do with quality or ingenuity or anything like that. It's just that need to be able to keep creating art, and like you couldn't stop if you wanted to. Some people, they do it for the craft. Others, they think it looks cool or they just really enjoy it. But there are those where it's just an itch, a boil in the blood that never eases. As I get older, I get more into collecting things. I didn't really used to be sentimental or anything like that. I like collecting old surgical equipment. There's something just really cool about that. The tools of trade forgotten at the time that for the most part were used to cut people open. I collect gas masks and just masks in general. They're fascinating to me. They're faces that you can look at, bones. I have a lot of dead flowers in my house, and a fair warning to anyone that wants to collect dead flowers: when a flower dies, it stinks really bad. And that's, and vinyl. I love vinyl. I'm not pretentious enough to say that it's the best format of music. It's just I gather the most enjoyment from experiencing music that way.
Do you play music yourself?
I was never really good at it. I wanted to be, and I pretended to be, which more or less, looking back, is kind of embarrassing. But every now and then, I'll play a little bit. I've done some songs. I made a film where I did the music for it. But other than that, I wouldn't really consider myself a musician. It's definitely linked to my mood. Sometimes you want to smell something sweet, and other times something savory. I guess the smell of lavender in the air, like when spring hits and like you're not just feeling it, you're not just seeing it, but you actually get to smell it. I like that. It's nice.
That is nice.
Usually, yeah. Right now, I'm pretty burned out with music though, because I need new stuff to listen to. As much as I love certain albums, you need a break with them sometimes.
Sure do.
Of course, but I think that's just part of being alive. Looking back in high school, it was difficult. Growing up was difficult for me. And it is for most people. I mean, no matter who you are, you don't get a shield from suffering. What makes it hard to actually say is that I'm all really at peace. It doesn't really make me angry, in a lot of ways grateful, because it was defining and it put me somewhere and it made me think a certain way and end up a certain place around certain people. And I'm all very grateful for that. We can't escape our subconscious. One story actually that I do remember, and I'm more entertained by it now than I think angry or seeing something traumatic or anything like that. When I was in high school, and this is like right after the whole Columbine craze, when like school shooters were in all black and they misunderstood. If you fit that bill, you were most likely going to shoot people, apparently. And I was victim to that type of profiling. Where I was just a very lonely kid. I didn't understand people. I drew scary pictures to the perception of everyone else around me. So, it was really disappointing when out of nowhere I'm being called into a detective's office because people are claiming I said things that were either taken out of context or just straight up made up. But once again, I think there's a motif to that also, I experienced when I was younger with people just leaving, a child leaving in the dirt. It's a side of us. It's something we do, we walk past homeless people on the side of the road sleeping without, even so much as a glance. We see it, just don't look at it. It's a side of all of us, me and you and all that. So, it's hard to get mad at it as much as it is to be very aware of it.
And just as there is the ignorance, there's also the absolute kindness in so many.
My parents definitely have been a shaping factor in my life. I have a very close relationship with them. Growing up it was turbulent because they didn't understand me and really I didn't understand them. And, there is no rule book on how exactly you're supposed to do this for either side. But as I get older, I think that's really happens with everyone. You get closer and closer to your parents, and without their love and support and guidance and advice, I don't think I could have gotten to where I'm at and to where I plan to go.
Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, thanks, Mom and Dad. I'm a big fan of Michelangelo. His ability to achieve what is arguably perfection brought tears to my eyes when I saw it in person. His dedication to his work was always very inspiring to me. I was really, I'm really into Ralph Steadman. As a kid, you're told to draw inside the lines, to be nice, to be neat, don't be scary. And I remember when I saw his work, it was a very exciting reminder that no, actually I didn't need to be where the fuck I want. And that encouraged me to keep going the way I wanted to go. I'd always had made darker art that to a lot of people they say would be scary. And as a child, there's something very creepy about a child's drawing because it's completely unintentional. They don't realize really what they're saying because their brains haven't formed that much. And when I was drawing stuff like that, you're definitely told not to do that. So, that's why Ralph Steadman is very special to me. Other artists I like, Francis Bacon. He has a confidence with how he moves his brush that I feel like very few artists can even come close to. I like Sam Brown from Exploding Doll. He did stick figure drawings based around a phrase or a quote. And you'd be able to express more emotion with stick figures than some people did with photorealistic paintings. So I really appreciated his work. I just kind of have always done things my own way. Yeah. So I'm not really familiar with what the art world is. I kind of took it renegade, where I would do a couple gallery shows, but most of them were put together by me. I'm sure there's a certain way that it's done, or as someone once said to me, there's the right way to do it, whatever that is. I do know with the gallery that I run, there are very certain things that I base it on in response to what I don't like about typical galleries. Well, first of all, because they're just really unfriendly, really expensive, and typically filled with art that I don't like.
Yeah, what struck
Uh, a little bit of A, a little bit of B, and I more so am into dichotomies. As destruction is one side, love is the other. But at the same time, love can cause destruction, and destruction can cause love. One thing that it's always been my artist statement is that it's really good to understand the extremes. The better you know black and white, the better you understand shades of gray. And they say life is, shade of gray. So, I like that he knows that I was really into Godzilla as a kid. That was the first thing I really connected with, were black and white Godzilla movies. When I grew up, I said I wanted to be a skeleton, and they told me you can only be a skeleton if you're dead. I wanted to be Godzilla.
That's great. One of my favorite pieces, it's the beginning of a new age.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like that piece too. I'm glad you like it.
No, it's like, I go over it every time I come here. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And what time of year was that?
Winter. It was part of two paintings I did, both of them revolving around like a deerish type skull. And one, the beginning of a new age, as you know, it was with bone and flowers. And that's one motif that I work on, because those are extremes, but they both represent mortality. They both represent life and death. When you look at a skull, that's, as it says in Latin, as I am, you shall be. And with flowers, it's the friend of beauty that when you pluck it dies. And it just reminds me of the circle of things. Everything will bloom and become bone once more, only to bloom from that.
Decomposition. Golf shoes.
Golf shoes.
Yeah.
I'm not that inspired by painters nowadays, but more so writers. And I'm a huge Hunter S. Thompson fan, and that's a phrase he screams while he's like checking into a hotel, freaking out on LSD. So, golf shoes. Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
On one side, you just do, it's like, how do you breathe? You just do, it's just something that you do. But if I were to answer that to the best of my ability, upon reflecting of what I've experienced and what it made me think, and trying to separate the difference between fact and opinion, it gives me a lot to work with. I'm very interested in the human condition. We all have the same set of emotions. We all feel happiness and sadness, all that stuff. So I like exploring that, doing paintings on the experience of the human condition.
And this piece behind us, what is this piece called?
The High Horse. I just finished it yesterday. And it's about the experience that pretty much anyone's ever felt, which is being stabbed in the back. And it's a painful feeling, it's one of the worst feelings. This piece is showing, it's a figure being stabbed in the back, but instead of blades coming through the heart, flowers are blooming. And it's depicting the really great things that we get through the hard times of the trail. You gain strength, you cut people out of your life that suck, which is represented in the people behind the knives. It shows them, almost faded out from memory, and then smiley faces with X's on the end, showing the people that are more or less dead to you now, they're no longer in your life. Because there's something negative you left in the past, while in the future and in the present is this. And even though you might be demonized, it's the horns that you can give a subtle smile knowing what you've learned and how far you've come. So regrets, it's hard to really see something as a regret when you realize where it brought you. sometimes like you gotta be thankful for that stuff. Sometimes not. I was on my drafting table one night, and I had a block. I didn't know what to paint, and I spilled some ink, and I remember it spilled on the floor, and I looked at it, and it looked like a humanoid shape. And then just the phrase "know no truth" exploded in my mind. And at the time, I don't think I fully understood what that meant, but it ended up being what I based my whole philosophy behind, both artistically and just living my life, and since then become the name of my gallery and my brand. And what it stands for is never accepting a conclusion, always looking deeper because there's always more detail. And no, it's like the more you look at my art, I'd like to think the more you're going to see, and from that there's more you're going to get from it. So it's an experience that's worth more than just a glimpse.
Yeah.
Michelangelo painted standing up,
Oh, you did?
despite what people believed on the contrary, so I have to paint standing up.
I didn't know that, thank you. That's a great little piece of knowledge.
Yeah, in his journals, which I've read, there's all these sketches of him painting like this, saying how much his back hurts, so... Actually, before I was an artist, I used to work at a gym, personal training. I've always liked fitness. It's fun for me. It helps me shut off my mind. It's the only time I don't really think. And it just, makes me feel good. I like lifting heavy shit over my head a bunch of times in a repetitive fashion. Right now I'm reading two things. I'm reading Hemingway's To Have and To Have Not, and it's been taking me a really long time, but I'm reading Dante's Inferno. That book it's great, but it's so difficult because you have to first know antiquity and mythology. You need to know medieval Christian mythology. You need to know Florentine politics for that time frame, and you need to know Dante's personal life because he references all of them heavily. But once you go through all that, and what you do get through, you get a lot. So visual.
So visual, yeah. Is there...
I've got a lot of sketches that I'm doing. Like I do that before bed, or when I find myself in between projects. Like I said, I literally finished this yesterday. So today I'm probably going to start doing sketches for the mural, or maybe not do sketches and just start it right away.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. It's something I would really like to see, and I'll eventually do. I've attempted it before, but it just never comes the way I want it to be.
Yeah.
What I'd really like to do is make it half, biography, half coffee table book, but I think I may just nix the biography side because, I don't know, I've told this, it gets boring telling the story a lot. It gets boring reliving the same story.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned is the past is behind you, and it will always be there anytime you want to look at it. I just tend to not want to focus on it. In terms of like art and apparel, it's me. I'm getting other artists, and one of my assistants, who's a metal worker, is bringing some of those things.
Oh, fabulous.
I've got another friend who is a fashion designer, and we worked on designs together to make kind of like custom-made clothing. We took a lot of inspirations from All Saints, kind of like a Victorian, elegant, but at the same time rough around the edges, goth look. It's, because when it comes to that type of fashion, it's like you got Hot Topic and like nothing.
Yeah.
So we're trying to bridge the gap into something that's sophisticated, but at the same time badass. This is my bread and butter in art, and the sales of my art. So and also commissions can be a fun challenge. Like someone will want you to do something that you would have never thought to do on your own, a certain style or a certain scene. And sometimes, you get really terrible commissions that are like pulling teeth, and I'm not proud of the results, but every now and then you get a commission where it's just you make something really great and proud of, and it's good. Yeah, with everyone I work with, it's a lot of pressure because it's Newbury Street, and there are certain levels of quality that need to be presented. Yeah, I mean, I question if I have it myself, but I do know the people I work with do.
And,
Or they can just come to the gallery at 228 Newbury Street.
Wow.
Yeah,
This has been really great.
my pleasure.
Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
sitting down on the show. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And you can find this on Channel 3, Somerville, and also at fallonsdailytoast.com. And if you're interested, just nonotruths.com, 228 Newbury Street. And this won't be the last time that Landon is on the show, I hope. I'd love to have you again. Maybe in a couple of months we can check in, see what you're up to, or
Thank you.
yeah.